to welcome you to today's webinar, which is Alarm.com. Alarm.com is a brand new business partner for ADI. Some of you have probably been using them for quite some time, and some of you have probably wondered exactly what they're all about. And today's the day that you're going to find out. So I'd like to welcome Glen Guldbeck, who is the account executive for distribution, which is a fancy title, meaning he works for me for the next hour. And hopefully you don't take too much offense to that, Glen, but here's the format. Glen's going to speak for about 45 minutes. During this time, as you have questions, put them into the Q&A box, and we will answer them at the end of this session. If you have some issue going on, put it into the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that as we go. And with that, I'd like to introduce Glen Guldbeck from Alarm.com.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you so much, Mike. And yes, I do work for you for the next hour. In fact, my business card says Mini Mike on it, just so you know. Hey, everybody. First and foremost, just in light of everything going on, I want to extend sincerely wishes that you and all of your families are safe as we all collectively navigate through this COVID-19 scenario here. So really blessed that I'm able to spend some time with you virtually. My name is Glen Guldbeck. I have been with Alarm.com for about just over 8 years now, but I've been in the security industry since 1987 out on the West Coast, primarily in sales. I was with a company called West Tech Security for about 15 years before I kind of moved over onto the vendor side of the industry. I now live in Northern Virginia near our corporate office, which is in Tysons, Virginia. And we're going to, I know I probably have quite a mixed audience today, as Mike just alluded to. So I'm going to keep this kind of high level. We are very excited to be partnered with ADI, and unfortunately the timing was such that we entered officially into this relationship really right at the beginning of this pandemic globally, and so I kind of feel like our launch is still a couple of months away, but nonetheless really happy to be working with ADI, and this has been in the works for quite some time, so very happy to see it finally come to fruition. So being that we've got a fairly mixed audience, as Mike alluded to, of maybe some existing Alarm.com partners, dealer partners out there that maybe have never heard of Alarm.com, and some that have heard about Alarm.com but just want to learn a little bit more about what this Alarm.com company is all about, and to get a better level of understanding as to how the platform works and what it potentially means to your business in terms of creating a higher level of customer engagement and really minimizing attrition so that you, by utilizing Alarm.com, can continue to bring value on a day-to-day basis for your subscribers or your customers. So let's kind of jump into this. I'm going to divide this really into two broad categories. One, kind of an overview of the platform, and then it's going to be somewhat hardware-centric, especially in light of this being executed today through ADI. So we're going to talk about different types of hardware and some applications that your customers may take advantage of, all of which can be purchased at your local ADI branch. So Alarm.com, we are in our 20th year of business. We were born out of a company called MicroStrategy, which is just down the street from our headquarters, and they're a very relevant data mining company. So we are all about data, and we believe that data tells a story. It certainly tells a story for the dealer, and equally, if not more importantly, it tells a story for the customer, be it a homeowner or a business owner. So essentially, Alarm.com globally is the largest provider of connected or interactive security services. So essentially, we provide software and communications to help dealer partners better support their customers. And as a result, those end users, those homeowners and those business owners, are arguably able to get a lot more value out of their alarm hardware because of our platform. So we work with manufacturers and we are the software guys. So it's kind of a perfect marriage of hardware and software. We currently, in our 20th year, we have over 8 million subscribers to date, and over 8,000 authorized dealer partners. And that landscape of service provider partners that we have is really very broad. We have some that focus just residentially, some that are focused on commercial business, some that are focused on the wellness market, some that are focused on the builder market. So there is a wide variety of dealers out there in terms of the type of business that they utilize Alarm.com in. We definitely have cut our teeth in the security space. There's no doubt about that. But nonetheless, we find that there's a lot of opportunity when we think outside of the security box, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well. To put things in perspective in terms of 8 million plus subscribers, we're a software platform, software as a service platform. We have 2 network operation centers that basically field all of the data coming from those 8 million plus subscribers. So our network operation centers, we have one located in Northern Virginia, the other is located in Arizona. And to put things in perspective, just in terms of numbers, because I'm kind of nerdy that way, we currently today receive over 4,500 system events per second into Alarm.com. So that's a pretty vast amount of data flowing through us. And just to be clear, a system event in our eyes would be any time an end user walks in front of a motion sensor, or opens a censored door, or opens or closes a censored window, or triggers a video event, or adjusts their smart thermostat, or receives a notification on their device, or they drive away from their home and they cross an invisible geofence, which triggers the thermostat to adjust for an empty home for the next couple of hours. So that's a lot of information, and that's a broad definition of a system event. But ironically enough, even though we have that much data flowing into Alarm.com, ironically, less than 2% of all of that information actually gets forwarded to a central station. Now, I'll clarify something. I'm not saying that central stations aren't important. Actually, they're extremely important. Just understand that the vast majority of usage of our platform is such that doesn't require a central station operator. So for example, mom and dad both work, they want to receive a video of their son Johnny coming home from school every afternoon. In that situation, Johnny triggers a video. That video is sent to mom and dad and anybody else that wants to receive that video that they've given permission to. And at that point, they can see their son is safely home. It gives them peace of mind. They have that inherent value with the service they're paying monthly for. In that exact scenario, that does not involve a third-party central station at all. And to be clear, we're not a central station. We would sit as Alarm.com as this cloud platform. We sit between that home or business and the central station. We're right in the middle. Think of us as the data portal. So everything that happens at the home or business flows into Alarm.com, and then based on how the end user wants to utilize that information, we either send it back to the end user in the form of an email, or most likely a text notification, an SMS notification with a video attached, for example. On the other hand, if there was an alarm activation and it was not cleared, then we would forward that signal to the central station, and of course would follow their protocol with the operator calling to verify the nature of the emergency, ask for a password, etc. We're integrated with over 500 central stations to the extent that all of them have an IP receiver that we can communicate with to forward them this information I'm referring to. So let's go back to 1987 when I started in the industry to give this some context. When I started selling systems residentially, the only thing we really had to sell back then was fear. Essentially, hey, install a system and minimize the possibility of something bad happening in your home or your business. Now today in 2020, the need to keep the bad guy out of the home or to have something bad happen in one's business hasn't changed. It hasn't gone away at all. But today, with Alarm.com, we're able, instead of focusing on the fear factor, we're able to address and talk about and present lifestyle concerns, answering the question for the homeowner and the business owner, hey, what keeps you up at night? You know, for a parent, for mom and dad at home, maybe it's concerns they have about their children, or domestic help, or their pets, or what happens when their 17-year-old gets in the car and goes over to a friend's house, right? We can address those specific concerns they may have and drive value for them. For a business owner, it may be concerns that he or she has about employees, or who's accessing my server room after 8 p.m. in the evening, or was my business open on time? Was it closed on time? So whatever it is that keeps that homeowner or that business owner up at night, there is part of the Alarm.com platform that can address that concern. And back in the day when we only had to sell fear, it was very difficult in the late 80s to drive value on a day-to-day basis. Because statistically, once that customer had the sign in the lawn, they had good lighting, they had the system in, statistically, they were never going to have, or a very minimal chance of having, an actual break-in. So at some point, maybe a year and a half into that monitoring agreement, they may have been sitting at the kitchen table, going over bills, going, God, you know, we pay $50 a month to ABC Security, but when's the last time we even turned that darn thing on? So they're questioning the value because they weren't getting value on a day-to-day basis like they can today. So now enter Alarm.com. Of course, it's just as important, again, to keep the bad guys out of the home or business, but today we can focus on the things that I was talking about. And the idea for the end user is that this service with Alarm.com becomes a day-to-day essential. It becomes such an ingrained part of that homeowner's day-to-day routine, they can't imagine living without it. That's the idea at a very high level. Give them what they want, address their concerns, and remind them on a day-to-day basis through notifications via text and email that they made a really, really good decision to go with the dealer that signed them up. That's the idea at the highest level. So right now we're looking at, as you see this next slide here, over 520 million smart devices or advanced devices we anticipate being connected to Alarm.com accounts. And this is cameras, the systems, wellness devices, thermostats, lights, locks, everything. And all of those items, as our dealers become more sophisticated and find more ways to connect with their customers, it means that we'll continue to integrate with more equipment, which you will be able to buy off the shelves of your local ADI branch. And we're dealing with a much more sophisticated marketplace now in the upper left-hand corner there. The reality is that today the average homeowner and business owner, but I would say more so on the homeowner side, is very aware of interactive services where maybe just a few years ago they weren't. But today there's so much media around this. We've obviously grown a lot. You see on, HGTV, there's references to automation and smart home technology every single day. If we go to the upper right-hand corner there, the other consideration or the other change that's happened in the last several years in this connected or interactive security space is that what once started as a concern for what's happening inside my property, be it a business or a home, has really expanded out to not just the immediate perimeter, but the entire property. So we are looking at, at hardware and different applications that can basically start addressing and does address concerns that a business owner or a homeowner has for what's happening outside of their property in the immediate perimeter, and maybe in terms of driving and some of the upcoming services we're going to be offering, even when somebody's at a distance from the home. 63% of consumers expect new products more frequently than ever before. Here's the thing. I'm going to tie the two bottom boxes together. Customers want to know that they made a great decision to go with the dealer that they did. And I think they want to know that they have partnered with and they are doing business with a progressive company that's offering cutting-edge products, services, and applications, okay? And I really think that's important. Understand that Alarm.com, this is all we do. All we do are connected services and interactive connectivity between customers and their service through an app that we have that is on their smart device. That's all we do. Fortunately, there are so many great products out there today, and so we are screening what makes sense to integrate with. At a high level, we know that with all the great products out there, one of the challenges from a consumer standpoint is, hey, you know, I've got 7 great products in my home, and I have a separate app for each product. So it's kind of cumbersome for that homeowner to have to jump from app to app to app to app on their phone or their device to be able to look at a specific product. So the idea with Alarm.com is we said, no, we want to create a platform where we can take all of these products and integrate them into one app so that that end user can go on their device and open up one app, and from there merely scroll through what it is that they want to address at that moment, whether it's my cameras or my thermostat or my lights, whatever it is, they can do it from one location. So certainly we want to make it a very easy, seamless experience for the user to manage via the Alarm.com app what is happening at their property. Now currently, and believe me when I say this is a partial list, we are integrated, I don't even know the exact number, but we're integrated with a lot of different manufacturers. And when we look to integrate with a product, we always ask ourselves a few questions. One is that, actually 2 primary questions. Number one, if we integrate with a product, is it a product that makes sense to the dealer? Is it something that the dealer could go into a home or business and get excited about sharing that product and the benefits of that product with a prospective customer, or going back into an existing customer's home or business and upgrading them with an additional product or service? The second question we would ask when evaluating whether or not we want to bring a product on board is, does it make sense to the customer? Is it bringing value to the end user? Is it something they would find useful in their day-to-day home or business life? So those are there's kind of a set of criteria that we have before we bring a product on board. At the end of the day, regardless of the products that are in a business or in a home with Alarm.com, the most important thing is that we want to send communications to that business owner or homeowner that matter to them. Not what we think is important, not what the salesperson thinks is important, but what the homeowner or the business owner tells them is important to them. Again, back to my earlier statement, what keeps them up at night? The savvy salesperson is going to ask the right questions to determine what those pain points are for the homeowner or the business owner. Within the Alarm.com platform, you'll then be able to customize a notification attached to a piece of hardware that specifically addresses what's most important to that end user. And that's the name of the game. And what that does is it creates a really nice kind of a longevity scenario for us. So I'll analogize for a moment. Think about, and I don't remember the exact statistic, but if you go buy a car, and there was always that old saying that the moment you drive a car off the lot, by so much. Well, understand that in our world, Alarm.com, I would argue that their service with Alarm.com is going to be more relevant as time goes on, not less relevant. So for example, whatever it is that got them to sign up with you as a dealer, based on what was kind of, keeping them up at night at that point, that may change over time. So I would argue that in a year or 2 years, their needs may change. They may have new concerns that they didn't have when they signed up with you 2 years ago. Here's the wonderful thing about the Alarm.com platform. It's scalable, and it will evolve as the homeowner's needs change or the business owner's needs change, but you won't have to go change out the panel. It's the platform that will continue to evolve. So I think if you plant that seed with the customer and let them know, hey, we're in for the long haul. And what that's going to do, A, is create a higher level of engagement with that customer to avoid what I was saying earlier about that couple talking about, when's the last time we even turned the system on? No, today you've got an infinite number of ways to get that customer engaged. And number two, you ultimately are going to minimize attrition because you're able to give them value on a day-to-day basis. If somebody passes away, we can't control that type of attrition. If somebody physically moves out of our geographical footprint or the dealer's geographical footprint that they sell and service, that's really nothing that anybody can control. But anybody that's using alarm.com that has a customer that cancels because they don't feel they're receiving value on a day-to-day basis, shame on the dealer for not engaging that customer correctly in the first place. And on the back end of this platform, we have a whole host of training tools and methodologies that we share with all of our dealers that really show them how to most effectively set up that brand new customer so that when you walk out the door, that customer is optimally set up to begin truly using the platform from day one. And there's a lot more I could talk about just on that, which would be for a different conversation. But understand that we want to drive value. That's the point of the platform. Higher customer engagement and a longer relationship between you, the dealer, and the end user. The preferred platform by partners. So again, this is just feedback. We're always proud to read these kind of things, but we're certainly not resting on our laurels. We feel 20 years in, we're just still at the beginning, meaning that there's so much more to do. So even though we can internally appreciate how far we've come, I would argue that we're still scratching the scratch at the surface in terms of what potentially is out there in the future, different vertical markets, new technologies, et cetera. So this is a pretty exciting ride, and having been in the industry for a long time, I can't personally imagine being anywhere else than with alarm.com. It's very exciting. And the last 3 years, I've been working specifically with distribution partners. So it's been really fun to see that part of our business grow. Looking at this slide here, and I made the comment earlier to think outside of the security box. True enough, we were kind of born, we cut our teeth in the security space. But if you take a look at some of these other markets, multifamily, wellness, small and medium business, and the builder program, there are lots of different applications in vertical markets that we are now participating in. And it doesn't mean that as a dealer you have to participate in all of them. You will have your niche markets that you work, your specialties. We just simply want to have a platform that's malleable or can conform to what it is that you specifically as a dealer are going to market with. I would argue the largest growth opportunity for us going forward, is certainly in the near future, is tied to our commercial offering. I don't have the exact percentage, but I'm going to say out of our 8 million plus subscribers, somewhere probably between 10 and 15% are commercial accounts or alarm.com in businesses. So clearly it's been dominated, this whole platform over the last 20 years has been dominated by residential business, but we see a tremendous growth on the commercial side. So for those that are already working with alarm.com, you've probably already started, we have separate trainings and a lot of outreach programs related to offering our platform to small business owners. So our sweet spot, I probably would say, is that 3,000 to 5,000 square foot business. And unlike residential, a lot of business owners are not fully aware that these interactive services apply to them. They're not necessarily aware that the wide array of connected services is available for their businesses. So this is something we're excited about, and with our dealer partners who focus on commercial, it's kind of a greenfield opportunity, for lack of a better description. So where we're at now, we've combined and have kind of a fully integrated commercial offering, which incorporates security, access control, video, energy management, water management. Pretty much everything can be put into one offering, again, that would address everything that a business owner would be possibly concerned about running their business, especially with multiple locations, for instance, and being able to manage those multiple locations in terms of access and employee turnover from their smart device. So remotely, it's a fantastic tool. We look at kind of what specifically is needed in the commercial space. Commercial grade cameras, commercial grade recorders, streaming video recorders, expanded access control, being able to kind of incorporate this whole connected services world that we have birthed and bringing access control into that mix, which is a perfect marriage in my opinion. An overall in-depth awareness through reporting and online access so that a business owner can dial in as much or glean as much information about what is happening in their business on a daily basis and also receive ongoing regular reports from alarm.com that give them specialized, customized information so they know how their businesses are doing in terms of employees opening and closing on time, cleaning up, turning the lights off, etc. So a lot of information that a business owner can get from alarm.com. On the equipment side, and again, this will all be equipment that is available through ADI, we have a number of kind of commercially focused cameras. Certainly these could be used residentially as well, but these are PoE cameras of varying nature. I'm not going to go into the specs on all of these right now. Suffice to say, we can cover that stuff at a later time, or you as the dealer can certainly cover this with your local sales team. And each region in the country has an outside and an inside sales rep and a group of technical trainers that you would have the ability to work with in addition to all of the technical support groups at ADI. We recently released these commercial video recorders, 2, 6, and 12 terabyte offerings to accommodate a larger recording requirement for commercial versus residential. Our access control line, now the access line that will be available in distribution, it's an HID product called Aero, A-E-R-O, HID Aero. This is going to be coming very soon. In fact, I'd say that by the time we're all looking at this COVID-19 situation in a rearview mirror, that'll probably be about the time that the HID Aero product will be available to our distribution partners and to ADI specifically. So that is something that we're really looking forward to, and it's a great marriage between security and video and alarm.com. And then these reports, this would be one example. This is a commercial video report, but these business health reports are what I alluded to a moment ago that business owners can tap into. They can access this information online just to see, you know, how everything's working out. Now understand, this report here is for the dealer. So the dealer is able to see how their commercial customers are using or not using their service. So if you want to maintain the highest level of engagement with your customers and the alarm.com service, you have to have access to the information to let you know if it's happening or not. That's what these reports are for. So we provide these to our dealers so that they can see how their customers are doing out in the field with the service that they're receiving money for every month. On the video side of things, there are a number of other products that come into the fold here. Now, video analytics is something that is now across pretty much all of our cameras, and this is simply, video analytics is simply a way for us to minimize Mother Nature's wrath, if you will, so that we can dramatically minimize false video clips because of, you know, winds or cars driving by or somebody, you know, walking up to the door or what have you. We're able to really, with the analytics across our camera lineup, able to dial in what it is visually that the end user wants to see. And once we know that, you can customize the video offering via specific notifications to allow that business owner, in this case, to get exactly the video clips that they want not the ones that would be considered spam or junk video clips, for lack of a better expression. So we'll talk about a few different items here in a moment. So Wi-Fi cameras, these are probably going to be seen more in the residential applications. We have our base exterior camera, the V723, and then we have a lineup of 3 interior cameras, the 522IR, the V523, and the V622, the latter being kind of the Swiss Army knife of cameras, because it's kind of, apart from the visual nature of what it does integrated into Alarm.com, it offers a bevy of other services and applications within one unit. I'll talk about that in a moment. So the 723 camera, 1080p, you can see some stats there on it. Again, I'm not going to go into all the specs on each item right here, because we want to make sure we're at 12:30 now, that I kind of wrap up what I'm going to talk about in 15 minutes, and then we can take some questions. The interior cameras, this is our baseline camera, the 523. I would say this is the bread and butter camera that most all of our residential dealers are currently using in new installations, or for existing customers that maybe didn't partake in any video services up front, but now they want to add video. So this is probably their A choice on the residential range of cameras. Doorbell cameras. So we have worked with Skybell as a manufacturer for the last few years now, and I would argue doorbell cameras are probably currently the most popular integrated piece of hardware that we have. Everybody loves, especially in the days of, in this era of Amazon and having multiple people delivering products, especially right now, to our homes. I think everybody wants to know what's going on the porch. So we work with a couple of different Skybell units currently. One is the HD, or this round model you're looking at, and then there is a slimline doorbell camera. Now, between these two, both the round one and this slimline version, this is the more popular. There's 2 versions of it, or 2 coverings for it, but basically because of the form factor, this has proven to be more popular. It just simply fits more physical applications at the front door versus the round one. The round one sells quite a bit, but I think you'll find at ADI or any other distribution partner, we sell way more of the slimline versions. Later this year, we are introducing a new doorbell camera that we are manufacturing called the V770. This one we are able to incorporate video analytics into, and this is going to allow us to dial in much more accurate reporting and much more specifically noted notifications sent out to the homeowner in this case. Here you can see this shady little character cleverly disguising himself as a child on the left there. And then here's his accomplice coming up, hiding her identity because she knows she's probably being recorded. Okay, I'm just kidding. This unit we're very, very happy with. Again, we're in beta right now. It will be released in a few months. It is not replacing one of the Skybell units. It's simply going to be an additional doorbell camera to our existing lineup. So we'll have way more information coming out about those in the next few months. Smart Gateway, the SG130. This is essentially a Wi-Fi access point for cameras. So think of it, if the customer has their Wi-Fi network, this is kind of a sub-network that the Alarm.com cameras are attached to. So by kind of carving out a separate part of the customer's Wi-Fi network via this SG130 unit, you're essentially keeping the cameras safe, or I would say unaffected by when the customer changes their password or their SSID information on their regular home network. This kind of carves out the cameras from everything else that's on the customer's network. So the SG130 is a very popular item that is, I would say, beginning to sell more and more as video adoption keeps increasing. The PoE to Wi-Fi bridge, we just got approval actually a couple weeks ago that this will now be going into distribution, and that should probably be happening again in the next month and a half, 2 months tops. And the PoE to Wi-Fi bridge is essentially a unit that you would hardwire a PoE camera into this unit and then connect that PoE camera via this W110 module into the customer's network or into that SG130 that I just showed you on the prior slide. So these, in my opinion, just will go hand in hand with any PoE cameras that are sold, because it obviously saves the installer from having to run a wire from a PoE camera all the way back to the router. So these ADC W110s will be available in distribution here very, very shortly. And that W110 unit, the PoE Wi-Fi bridge, as with most everything else on our platform, can be accessed both through Mobile Tech, which is the app that is dedicated to installers, as well as the partner portal, which is the online tool that all dealers have to manage and create their business through alarm.com. Partner portal, we used to call it the dealer website back in the day. Streaming video recorder, the SVR 122 units. We have 3 of them, 500 gig, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabyte options. So these would be slanted more toward residential applications, when in fact the CSVRs, which I talked about earlier when we were talking about commercial, that's more robust. That's going to, you know, those are sized to accommodate a business versus residential. Can you use one of the commercial SVR units in a residential application? Absolutely. In fact, you know, some of the markets that I worked in or sold in back in the late 80s in Southern California, you know, we were in these mansions, these big homes, which arguably were larger than many small businesses. So something of that size that the CSVR, you know, consists of would have been more than appropriate for some of those large homes. So for the custom folks out there, yeah, you can use whichever one you want. The well cam. So this is that the 622 camera that I referred to earlier when I showed that slide that had the 3 residential cameras. This is the V622, but we're really kind of changing the labeling, calling it the well cam. This, bottom line, it's the Swiss Army knife for our interior cameras. In addition to recording, it's not a pan-tilt zoom, but you do have zoom, what we would call fingertip zoom, the ability to bring up that camera on your app and then being able to manipulate the image by dragging your finger on the screen, which is nothing new, but it's available, and that is kind of standard in terms of how this well cam is accessed to manipulate the view from your smart device. It also has, on the top of that, there's a button for 2-way speaking engagement. So under the auspices of well cam, think of an elderly person aging in place in their home, and they simply want to touch base with their kids. They could push a button on the top of this camera and basically have a conversation through the camera and their grown son or kids on the other side of town who are speaking with them through the alarm.com app on their device. So it's a 2-way communication device that goes both ways. Thirdly, this is also for us music nuts. This is also basically a Bluetooth streaming product. So Pandora or Sonos, any of your other streaming services, you can simply utilize this camera as a streaming device, so we can all enjoy our music while hanging out in the living room. Okay, so that's well cam. Even though I mentioned the V523 is kind of the bread and butter residential camera, this would be the higher end option that gives them more bells and whistles. And certainly as well cam in the wellness space or the aging in place vertical that we are growing by leaps and bounds, this camera takes on a whole different meaning in terms of keeping that person aging in place in their home alone connected to their grown children, their grandchildren, their caregivers, their next door neighbor, anybody else that would have a concern for them living alone. So that's well cam, some of the packaging there. Automation, and I've got 6 minutes here before I flip things over to AJ Shaw. Energy management, we're integrated with a number of different automation offerings. We have a couple of thermostats, one that we manufacture, both we manufacture, but this one's called the T3000, and it's just a fully, you know, jacked up feature-rich thermostat that is born out of Alarm.com and is intended to leverage all of the functionality within our platform. One of the things that I alluded to earlier, but really, just based on time, not really talking about, but one of my favorite applications of it is geoservices. Geoservices would be that invisible fence, if you will, that's, say, a mile out from your home in a big circle. And you can program geofence to program your thermostat. So, for instance, when the last person leaves my home here in Northern Virginia, the moment I'm a mile away from my home, I have it adjust my thermostat, either up or down based on the time of the year, but the thought being, why would I drive my HVAC system when nobody's home? So utilizing Alarm.com, I can program the thermostat to take advantage of those kind of automation applications when I'm not home, when I am home, and when I'm driving away from home. Smart water valves. When I moved back east, out west, not a lot of basements. Back east here, a lot of basements, and a lot of people concerned about flooding and things of that nature. Smart water valve, a very sensible application for us, and there's a multitude of applications here. But essentially, it's a very easy to install, feature-rich application that addresses essentially concerns around needing to shut off the water supply if a leak occurs, so you can obviously prevent flooding and all of the associated damage with flooding. We have two primary garage door solutions, and I'm asking the question rhetorically because I probably already know the answer. How many of you have driven away from home and left the garage door open? For me, as I'm getting older and entering senility, I find that I do that on a regular basis. Some would argue I simply need a new hobby. Nonetheless, we have two garage door applications, LiftMaster, who we've worked with now for, my gosh, since I think I've been with Alarm.com, probably for 7 or 8 years at this point. And then more recently, in the last few years, we're also integrated with the Nortec Z-Wave garage door controller. So both of those garage door applications are available. They're integrated with Alarm.com, and it's just a fantastic, application and a solution for something that we as human beings tend to do from time to time. Apart from just knowing when somebody's opening and closing the garage door, I would argue that the more appealing way to talk about it is to address those that forget to close it when they leave. A couple other things here. You will be able to buy both the DSC Power Series and the Honeywell Vista System Enhancement Modules, or SEMs, because we're a company of acronyms. The System Enhancement Module is essentially saying, hey, I like my Vista 15 panel. I don't want to switch the panel out, but I'd really like to use the Alarm.com services. So the SEM module, think of it as almost like a takeover module. It essentially can be attached via a bus module to that existing panel, and you're then able to give that customer with that Vista 15 panel, for example, all of the Alarm.com functionality on their smart device that they wouldn't otherwise have had. So the System Enhancement Module is also available for a number of the DSC Power Series models that are out there, and obviously there's been quite a few Power Series models available over the years. Something that is coming, we're real excited about this, and to kind of finish off here before I flip it back over to AJ, connected car. I was referring to geoservices, and I mentioned on one of the earlier slides that people are having a growing desire to know not only what is happening in their property, not only on the immediate perimeter of their property, but outside of the property as well. And this is what I was referring to. So, your teenage son gets his driver's license, and now mom and dad have a whole new reason to get gray hair, right? So connected car is simply a way to keep track of vehicles when they're away from home, to obtain information about speeding. Think of the commercial application, fleet service application. Hey, are my service drivers, are they staying in their service area? Are they venturing over somewhere they shouldn't be? Are they under the speed limit? Are they over the speed limit? Are they idle for too long? Back to the original scenario about a teenage driver, I would argue that it kind of sucks to be a teenage driver today with this type of technology, because you can't get away with a lot of things that I would have been able to get away with, back when I was 16. Although here on this recorded message, I was the ideal 16-year-old kid, just so you know. Nonetheless, back to the platform here, a connected car. This is coming here later this year. I don't have an exact date, so that's a pretty wide open release date, but definitely in the next several months. And we're really excited about this, both residentially, certainly for mom and dad to address concerns they have about their teenage drivers, or even their spouse who said she's just going to the grocery store, but maybe you can set up a notification saying, hey, if she heads to my local Nordstrom, send me a notification so I can cancel the credit card before she gets there. What? Did I say that out loud? There you go. Fleet service applications. We see obviously a huge opportunity for our dealers who manage a fleet of service vehicles, and just making sure that their service techs out in the field are where they're supposed to be and are not venturing where they shouldn't be. So reports similar to the video health reports that we provide dealers about the video customers that they have, we will have similar formatted information so that dealers can keep track of the vehicles that they're managing on this new part of our platform. Okay, hey, we're right at that time here, folks. Jot down, I'll keep this up on the screen here, but jot down my email address real quickly before I hand it over to AJ. Granted, we've just scratched the surface here in terms of information. Each region that you are located in has a sales team to support you. Feel free to shoot me an email. I can send you out our territory map, which I believe we have an updated one that just came out recently. I'll also make sure that Mike and AJ and everybody on the ADI team has a copy of that as well, so they can share it in conversations and email exchanges with you. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I'd like to now bring up AJ Shaw. Go ahead, AJ.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and thanks for being able to talk for 45 minutes straight.
My mouth is dry.
Give you a few minutes to get a drink. I would like to thank everybody for joining our webinar today and taking time out of your day. I know this is a strange time we're living in now, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to come and join us on these webinars. I would also like to thank Glenn again with Alarm.com for giving us insight into his products and services. Don't forget, if anybody has any questions, if you want to type those into the Q&A section at the bottom of your presentation there. I believe if you just move the mouse, you'll see a bar pop up at the bottom there. Just click on Q&A. Feel free, ask any question you would like. Again, I'm AJ Shaw with the ADI Systems Group in Louisville, Kentucky. I manage a team of reps that handle fire, intrusion, and home automation equipment. We're very excited to get Alarm.com in there as an added service to a growing number of products that we sell. I'm sure quite a few of you are familiar with the Systems Group. If not, we have been available to our customers for more than 25 years. We provide our customers with recommendations and best practice knowledge to ensure success for any of the systems integrations that they have, including CCTV, access control, and a whole bunch of others. Our team of experts is here to help you with all of our system integrations needs from 7:30 a.m. to 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Please give us a call. We're happy to assist you with any of the Alarm.com products. We have a huge selection of low voltage products that we can also help you with, preferably the ones that will integrate into the Alarm.com app. Our phone number and email address information can be found on our website. You can also follow us at ADI Global on your Facebook or LinkedIn pages. And if you have any questions, feel free to put those into that Q&A section at the bottom of the screen there. And Glenn, if you're done taking a drink there, sir, I will hand this back to you.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it. I just gulped down 4 glasses.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you, AJ. Hey, and just for everybody out there that's still listening, AJ obviously referenced the Systems Group. Now, right before we kind of entered this quarantine time, we had a trip scheduled to go meet with the systems group to do some technical training. There's a gentleman in the Alarm.com organization that runs our technical training group. His name is Adam Woodruff, and Adam and myself and a number of the trainers were going to be going out there to do that. We will get that training. It's more hands-on done, but yes, please understand, and this is one of the reasons we're very excited to work with ADI, is because of their systems group. And in addition to our dealer support group, which is out of Minneapolis or out of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, you know, we really see that getting the systems group at ADI up to speed on our products is yet one more level, an integrally important level of support for you as it relates to products and service questions about Alarm.com. So understand that, you know, from Alarm.com's perspective, we absolutely are looking forward to working closely with the systems group at ADI so that we can keep them abreast of updates, new product integrations that they'll be selling, and then, you know, give the employees online access to LMS courses and you know, just different tools to help them get up to speed. And granted, you know, with all of the SKUs that ADI supports, you know, we are a part of that puzzle, but we're going to do our very best to make sure that our partners there in the systems group are knowledgeable and able to troubleshoot with you know, with our shared dealers. So you know, in advance, thank you, AJ, for all that you guys do, because we know that that is going to not only ease the burden, I think, on our dealer support group, but certainly just make us more efficient as a partnership. So, yeah. Did we get any questions coming through on your end? That's either for you or Mike, yes?
Yes, I'll read. Here's how we'll do this. I'll read the question and who it's from so that you know you're getting a direct answer. And you're welcome to keep putting Q&A question. Sorry. You're welcome to keep putting questions in the Q&A box, and we'll do our damnedest to get to all of them. From William Dehane, how does Alarm.com recognize and send notifications for camera motion detection? Specific makes, models of cameras, and specific camera features. Are you doing all your own manufacturing, or is it OEM in part or in full? So that was 4 different questions, but it all centered around recognizing and notifying on camera motion.
Sure. So yes, everything, all of the notifications are generated by motion, either interior or exterior. Most all the cameras are OEM'd for us. We work with a few different manufacturers that private label those for Alarm.com. We're sending those clips primarily as SMS or text messages, but we can, you know, also send as email. We also use push notifications and tied into video analytics. Those are much more useful, especially if somebody's in a meeting and they can glance down at their phone and just see a quick thumbnail of what, you know, of something that was recorded video-wise and whether they need to give it their attention or if it was the UPS guy that was expected at that time. So yes, OEM'd, all motion generated, both interior and exterior, and all but I think 1 or 2, which will be going away eventually, have video analytics capability.
Thank you. Next question, also from William. Are you looking to get into AV to compete with home automation?
Great question. So it's really interesting for the high-end, the really high-end AV guys. I would say that, you know, they're going to continue the real high-end stuff, you know, Crestron or kind of that caliber of AV automation. That would be their high-end offering. I would say the Alarm.com offering is an adjunct to that. So for instance, a lot of the dealers that we've brought in over the years that were doing really high-end home automation, they were focused on the houses on top of the hill. And yet, for the most part, people that lived at the bottom of the hill couldn't afford what they were offering. So the Alarm.com automation offering, which gives them a lot of the same bells and whistles, is at a much more affordable price point. So I would say that the Alarm.com platform, as it relates to the AV world, is really not replacing those high-end platforms. It's merely a different vertical in that AV company's business, and it's allowing them to reach a subsector of customers that would, socioeconomically not be able to afford the high-end offering. So we see both working in tandem together.
From Ricardo Camacho, does Alarm.com integrate with Larix?
Good question. That name has come up a number of times. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't believe so at the time, but I can certainly find out. And actually, that just came up in an email exchange recently. I don't believe so at this time, but I will find out.
From Dwayne Geigler, excuse me if I mispronounced your names.
And Mike, I'm sorry, just let me interrupt real fast. For the gentleman that just asked that, can you just shoot me an email, please, at gguldbeck@alarm.com, which hopefully is still up on the screen there, and just say, hey, I was the guy that asked you about that on the webinar, and I'll get that answer for you. Thanks. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
That's okay. From Dwayne Geigler, I understand that you have the cameras that can look into the house to see who is home and make sure that everything is okay. Do you have another device that could signal if an elder, and it should probably be elderly parent, fell out of the camera, out of the sight of the camera? Like
the Wellcam, which is the V622, it's the one that I was showing on the screen there. That is the primary camera for our wellness offering. There are, I'm going to try to make this as a brief answer as possible. From an application standpoint, if in that exact scenario, somebody fell out of the camera view or what have you, we have a number of different items, wireless panic buttons that can be on the floor between the bed and the bathroom, for example. Bed sensors if somebody gets out of the bed and they don't trip a motion sensor in a restroom within 2 minutes. What does that seem to indicate? Maybe they fell. Maybe they couldn't get to the panic button. There are a number of different applications that we can customize to address some of these different situations that an elderly person could possibly get themselves into without them needing to necessarily wear a bracelet or a wristlet panic button or a necklace panic button. So the camera that's being used, though, in all of these wellness applications that provides the most value as the main camera is that V622, or what we are calling the Wellcam.
Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to start over on the Q&A side. They all came in from chat. From Adrian Skeet, how can we get involved in beta testing the V770?
We have a beta group. The best way to do it, if you're already with alarm.com, which you probably are asking the question, reach out to your account executive, either your inside or your outside sales rep, and they can walk you through the process. Essentially, there is a beta group that they would get you to connect with, and then they could get you to be part of that beta group if it's not already full. But yeah, reach out. Short answer, reach out to your sales rep. If you don't know who that is, shoot me an email, and I will send you the territory map.
And I think you've answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. From Vaya Coraz, is there a monthly fee?
Yes, and I'll just throw out some general numbers here. The base price, and this is going to vary based on volume and everything else, and depending on what nature of services we have, like pretty much every, like an MSO or a cable company, bundle is the thing, right? So we have residential bundles, we have commercial bundles. I would say on average, residentially, a bundle is probably in the area of $10 a month, just to throw out a figure. And the way it's typically set up, if we look at it now, I'm going to use some older data from Southern California because that's what I worked at for dealers going back just a few years ago. But on average, to kind of see how that fee is broken down, if a customer on average was spending with their dealer anywhere from $35 to $55 a month, on average, you would look at, like, the alarm.com fee, let's say, is $10. Then their central station fee is $4. So that's $14 cost to the dealer. And then the difference between that and what their charges to the customer would represent the recurring monthly revenue. So on average, $10 is kind of a safe answer. specific for the alarm.com services. Go ahead, Mike.
Sam Skelton, what is the hub that you use if you are not using a security panel just for interactive services?
Sure. It's now the hub, I'll say this off the bat, is something that is not available in distribution for a couple of reasons. Number one, out of respect to our panel partners like ESC and Qualsys and Nortec/2GIG. It has been primarily used in the builder market. We have some dealers that work exclusively in the builder market, and they've had access to that. But the irony is that if they went into a builder project and there were 100 homes, we have statistically seen that even though the customer may primarily just be interested in automation, not necessarily security, when it came time to actually set up their services, they did want security. So even though we may start with 100 hubs, we know that probably 90% of those are actually going to flip to a security panel, which you'd find on the shelves there at ADI, because even though it may not be the most important thing, they still want security if push comes to shove. So it's not available in distribution. You would work with your sales rep. I would just say that you would probably have a very specific builder project that you're working on, and you could work out the details with your sales rep. But just know that the vast majority of those will likely flip to a panel.
Thank you. Steve Homan asked, can we hardwire the outdoor cams? And he put a second note in there just thanking you for presenting this webinar, Glenn.
Well, I'll answer the second one first. Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you, taking time out of your day to spend with me. I hope you're doing it safely from wherever you're at. So, repeat the first question. It was about wiring an exterior camera.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so. For the exterior cameras, you could do a couple of things. If you're using a wireless camera like a V723. You could, wire that to the, certainly wire that to the customer's network. I think what is preferable and will result in less network issues or camera connectivity via Wi-Fi would be to use one of those SG-130s. And that's that, how would I say, sub-network device, kind of think of it as the Wi-Fi network just for the cameras. So depending upon the number of cameras, you may want to use one of those. On the other hand, if you were using one of the PoE cameras outside, and I'm sorry, with the wireless camera, you do have to run for power, so you're going to have to do that regardless. If you're doing a PoE camera, you would want to use that W110 PoE to Wi-Fi bridge. You would have that inside, plugged into an outlet somewhere adjacent to where that exterior PoE camera is being mounted. You would run that PoE camera into this little unit, and then that unit would connect wirelessly to the customer's network or into that SG-130 sub-network that I talked about. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, David Bennett wants to know what cellular carriers are available.
Verizon and AT&T, those are the big dogs.
Thank you.
Canada, I'm sorry, and in Canada, TELUS. And then internationally, we have a number of different carriers that we work with internationally as well.
If you all are down in the Caribbean, please shoot Glenn an email and he'll get you a more specific answer for that part of the world.
Yes, and on that note, Mike, thank you for mentioning that this was somewhere outside of a domestic. For any of our customers or any of the dealer partners that are on the call here, existing or considering Alarm.com, we have a rather large international team. So if you would like to be connected with them to discuss all of the particulars as it relates to Alarm.com outside of North America, please shoot me an email. I'll connect you with the international team, and they can answer all your questions and take it from there.
Great.
Thank you.
From Della Jennings, do you have any SEM products for manufacturers other than Honeywell and DSC?
Not currently. So there was talk. I mean, because when we looked at the vast majority of panels out there that our existing Alarm.com dealers at that time would potentially take over. Those were the two that were the biggest targets, the biggest opportunities for us at that time, both the Vista panels as well as the DSC Power Series panels. That being said, there had been talk for a while. I don't know where we're at with that, and I'm not sure it's going to happen. I'm not sure it's completely off the table. But at one point, there had been conversation around a kind of a universal module. I know nothing's definitely come to fruition on that, and I'm not sure if that is roadmapped or if that was buried. If you whoever had asked that question, if you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to track that down internally to see if something is in the works. But currently, the system enhancement modules are only for working with those Vista 10, 15, 20, and 21 IP panels, and then a whole host of the DSC Power Series panels. So shoot me an email. I'm happy to find out for you.
Okay, William Dehane is back again, and he asked, can you pull motion notifications from third-party cameras or only your own?
Hey, William, thanks for the question. Only our own. The question has often been asked, hey, can we just hook up any Wi-Fi camera to Alarm.com? The answer is no, and the primary reason is because when we integrate with a product, let's say with a camera in this case, we are essentially opening up the back end of our network operation centers. So we first need to assess if we're looking at a camera, and remember I mentioned, does it make sense for the dealer? Does it make sense for the customer to integrate with a particular product? The reason that we maybe wouldn't integrate with, let's say in this case, just any camera, is because if we discover that opening up an integration into our back end with a particular product is in any way threatening our data, then it's off the table. So we go through I won't go into all the details, but we go through a really long process to ensure that if we integrate with said product, that our data is safe. And in the Alarm.com world, there is nothing, not even close to being as critically important as protecting the data in those two network operation centers for these 8 million plus subscribers. So the reason that we don't integrate with all the cameras is because they have to go through a pretty stringent checklist to make sure that our data is okay.
Travis Wilkins asks you, is AlarmNet 360 just your platform rebranded?
No. So Alarm.com, we were founded actually in 2000, and this is we birthed the platform. So no, we are our own beast, as it were.
Okay. Janelle Haviland asks, is there any demo pricing for new dealers?
Hi, Janelle. What you would basically do is this: if you've become a dealer and you are working, with your local sales rep as well as the inside sales rep, we absolutely will help you with demo accounts, because at the end of the day, nothing speaks louder than you being able to turn your device around to your prospective customer and showing them, what it's all about. I mean, as fun as this is, doing this presentation today, it would be far more compelling just for me to stand in front of you and show you on the app. So yes, we will absolutely work with you for demo accounts. On that note, we also have virtual demo accounts. Some dealers, maybe they don't want to show their personal home, right? Show a prospective customer, this stranger that may become a customer, but I'm like, I don't want to show my living room. So we also have virtual demos, which would be kind of generic commercial and residential demo accounts that you can create from the partner portal. So you can access those with your login, and those allow you to populate them as an actual account on your phone. So you're seeing video clips, you're seeing all of the applications that the app provides, you're just seeing it in kind of a generic mode versus your actual home or business. So yes, we're very pro demo account at Alarm.com.
Thank you for that answer. William is back again, and he asks, can you integrate with communicating style thermostats from the HVAC manufacturers. Regular YWGRC, which I assume to be yellow, white, green, red, common, connections seem to be going away.
Hey, William, good technical question. I'm not sure I'd have the exact answer for you. We work with a few different thermostats that are integrated with us. Pretty much like my answer I just gave on the cameras and why we don't integrate with all the cameras. Again, we're kind of concerned about data. If you shoot me an email and ask me that thermostat question, I can send you some documentation that shows, it kind of digs down into the wiring and shows you from a configuration standpoint what our integrated thermostats look like. And I think in some of that information, some of your technical questions might be answered better.
Okay. Della is back again and asks, how do we find out if existing camera systems we have installed can integrate with alarm.com? And you've answered this a couple of ways, but I'll let you answer it again.
Sure. I mean, unless it was an alarm.com account, it's not going to be integrated with us. You're not going to be able to. So, you know, it kind of starts with, think of the engine that drives the car would be, for instance, that security panel that, you know, you're setting up initially and you're connecting all of the devices to. In terms of existing camera jobs out there, yeah, you're gonna have to use cameras that are integrated with alarm.com is the short answer. Again, we work with a very specific group of cameras that are integrated with our platform, but not everything.
Okay, Carlos Morales would like to know, is there going to be any training online in the future?
Now, I can answer that in a couple of ways, so I'm not sure if it was Carlos, correct, Mike?
Yes, that's correct.
Hey, Carlos. So if you are an existing alarm.com dealer, you already have access through the partner portal to all of our learning management system or our LMS courses online. So there's a lot of material there. Also, as we kind of get out of this, you know, kind of COVID-19 scenario here, and that's behind us, specific to ADI, we will also regionally be, you know, wanting to work with the RASs, the regional account reps and the branch sales staff to set up specific trainings in the branches, as well as participating in select expos as they happen throughout North America. So there's going to be several training opportunities. The online training courses, though, really where the bulk of those reside are on the partner portal. So if you're not a dealer, you're just kind of looking at the platform, you would in fact have access to all of that training material, you know, once you get on board with alarm.com.
Okay, we're down to just a couple of more. Charles Thompson asks, can I do programming over your module to a Vista panel?
Yes, you can do with the system enhancement module. You can do, if that SEM is in place, you can, through the partner portal and or I believe mobile tech as well, you're able to do some remote programming, adding and deleting sensors, turning notifications on and off, etc. So there is a lot of remote capability through our online tools. I can give you some more specific information other than that very general answer if you'd like to shoot me an email, and I can go into a little more depth on that versus tying us up longer than we need to be here on the call. So yeah, feel free to shoot me an email, and thanks for your question.
Okay, can alarm.com tie in with Apple HomeKit?
You cut out on the last part. I heard Apple.
Can alarm.com tie in with Apple HomeKit?
HomeKit, yes, we are integrated with them.
Okay. Gary Schools wants to know, are the most current alarm.com dealers subcontracting HVAC contractor for thermostat installations or plumbing I'm sorry, I lost my ability to speak. Are the most current alarm.com dealers subcontracting an HVAC contractor for thermostat installations, or a plumbing subcontractor for water main shutoff valves? Or are they installing these products in the house themselves?
Great question. It's a mix. I think it depends on the sophistication of the dealer. So it's not uncommon for them to have a relationship with an HVAC guy in their marketplace and or a plumber. But I would say if we're just playing the numbers game, the majority, especially with the T3000, of the two thermostats that we manufacture, the T2000 and T3000, the T3000 is actually even easier to install. So we are noticing with that particular model that dealers themselves are installing them, because we've really, and I don't mean it to sound insulting, but we've really kind of dumbed down the process to make it less challenging to install in terms of wire configuration, color coordination, etc. So it's a mix, but I'd say the majority, if I had to say, it's probably north of 50%, would actually install both the water management tools as well as the thermostats themselves instead of subcontracting out.
Great question. Alan Barlow wants to know, what are the requirements for signing up new dealers with Alarm.com?
Sure, great question. In fact, I guess I should have addressed that in the presentation. Literally, it sounds like I'm being facetious, but you go to alarm.com, and I think it's become a new partner. And on there, on the homepage, you'll see a link on how to begin that process. We have at our headquarters in Northern Virginia an onboarding group headed up by Allison and Ashley, and it's basically like a 2 or 3 day setup process. So you begin the process online through alarm.com, and then what happens during that few days is you're exchanging information and messaging with the onboarding group. They are just basically checking, hey, within the state that you reside in or are conducting business, do you have all the requisite licenses, your insurance, all of the things that basically the state would require. We're just making sure that that's done. We check with the Better Business Bureau. So the whole process to really get started is just a few days, but it starts, first step, just go to alarm.com and you begin the process there by clicking on the link on that homepage. And then after that, after you're onboarded or you're kind of official, if you will, then you will be contacted by the sales team, and they'll just kind of just talk with you and find out, hey, what's your plan? What are you focused on? Residential, commercial? Are you new to interactive services? Are you, this is old hat for you, et cetera? And we'll just kind of work with you and dial in, what we can do as a sales team to best support you. So yeah, start on the website, alarm.com.
Okay. Ron Hall wants to know if video or access systems or any other kind of system can provide a dry closure output. Could it be connected to something or some kind of hub that could ping the customer to look at their other systems?
I see, kind of like piggybacking to another system. That's a good question. That's one, too, I would defer to Adam, probably. Do me a favor, whoever had asked that question, thank you for it. Please shoot me an email, gguldbeck@alarm.com, and I can get that answer for you. I'll just loop in either Austin or Adam, somebody from our technical group, and they can answer.
Okay, this is the last question in case you guys just thought of more. Are most of the locks, thermostats, and light switches accessed through the SEM module that are Z-Wave?
Yes. Yes, so all of those devices are typically, woven into the customer's, into the mesh network. So yes, whether it was a SEM unit or whether it was a DSC panel or a 2 gig panel, yes, all of those integrated locks, lights, etc., automation devices can be integrated into an account that has a system enhancement module.
Well, that was our last question, Glenn. So if it's okay, I'd like to just thank everybody for attending. I'd absolutely like to thank you for helping us put our best foot forward with our installing community. I hope that you all find great value out of what we're trying to accomplish during these uncertain times and helping to position you as business returns to normal. You'll have new bullets for your gun to offer up new solutions and new products. I'm trying to take more focus with healthcare and with education because those things seem to be great opportunities right now. And lastly, I'd like to remind you that tomorrow we're going to run a webinar with Wilson Electronics to boost the cell phone in your home or your business. I'm sure we've all experienced some level of disconnect or outage, and that will be a great way to help overcome it. Glenn, I'll let you just button this up and say thank you to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for anybody that's still on the call. Thank you very much for carving some time out of your day. Again, I hope everybody is safe. One kind of a closing comment. You know, you don't, to get more information, I mean, if you're somebody looking at alarm.com and you want to know more, you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to sign up first. You can I would recommend probably, you know, you likely will have many questions. I'm happy to connect you with like the account executive for the area that you live in. Have a conversation and see if, you know, working with alarm.com even makes sense. You know, I think it's a great platform, but is it for everybody? No, I think it depends on what your business plan is, and if we do make sense though for you, and you know, you see that maybe getting into this connected services world might be a really viable opportunity for you, and it works within kind of how you're currently doing business. Hey, we'd love the opportunity to talk with you, but by no means should you feel obligated to have to sign up first and then make that determination. Have a conversation with somebody at alarm.com that manages your region and let them answer all your questions. And I'm happy to answer any too. So hopefully you jotted down my email address. Mike and AJ, thank you very much for hosting this. Mike, as always, you're the best. And everybody, be safe out there. And on the other side of this, I'll look forward to hopefully meeting some of you at an expo or at an ADI branch out there. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Glenn.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Glenn. Bye-bye.